Ever wondered what Python is and why it's so popular? Let's dive into this intriguing world of Python, a language that has taken the programming universe by storm. Python is a high-level interpreted programming language. Now, what does that mean? High-level simply means that it's designed to be easy for humans to read and write. It's like speaking to your computer in a language closer to English than to binary code. On the other hand, an interpreted language means Python code is executed line by line, instead of all at once. This makes it easier to spot and fix errors, making Python very user-friendly. But there's more to Python than just its friendly nature. Python is known for its simplicity and readability. The syntax is clean and easy to understand, making it a favorite among beginners and experts alike. It's like reading a book. You don't need to decode cryptic symbols or remember complex rules. You just read and write Python, as simple as that. But don't be fooled by its simplicity. Python is a powerhouse. It's versatile, meaning it can be used in various fields. Fancy creating a website? Python has frameworks for that. Want to dive into the ocean of data and extract valuable insights? Python is your friend. Dreaming of creating intelligent machines that can think and learn like humans? Python will be your trusted companion in the journey of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Python's versatility doesn't end there. It's used in scientific computing, in automation, in testing. From startups to tech giants like Google and NASA, Python is used everywhere. It's like a Swiss Army knife of programming languages, ready to tackle any challenge you throw at it. So in a nutshell, Python is a versatile language that's easy to read and write. But what about its variables? What are they? Let's explore Python variables in our next session. Stay tuned. Before we dive into Python's variables, let's first understand what variables are in the context of programming. Picture yourself in a grocery store. You have various items you need to purchase: apples, bread, milk, and so on. To carry these items, you need a container, right? A bag, perhaps? Each item you place in this bag is like a piece of data. And the bag itself, that's your variable. It's a container where you can store different types of data values. Now, let's talk more about these data values. Imagine you're baking a cake. The recipe calls for 2 eggs, a cup of sugar, and a cup of flour. In this scenario, the eggs, sugar, and flour are your data values, and just like these ingredients can be different, one being a solid, another a liquid, and the third a granulated substance. The types of data you can store in a variable can also vary. You can store numbers, text, lists, and more. Think of variables as flexible containers. They don't care what you put inside them. You can put a string of text in a variable and then replace it with a number. Similarly, you can store a list in a variable and later swap it out for a dictionary. This is what makes them so versatile and fundamental to programming. But remember, just like how every item in your grocery bag isn't just something, but has a distinct identity, an apple, a loaf of bread, or a bottle of milk, each data value in your variable isn't just data. It can be an integer, a string, a list, or any other data type. This distinction is crucial, and as we delve deeper into Python, you'll see just how important the type of data can be. Now that we have a general understanding of what variables are, let's see how Python handles them. In Python, creating a variable is as simple as giving it a name and assigning it a value. This simplicity is one of the many reasons why Python is such an appealing language for beginners and seasoned programmers alike. Now let's talk about variable declaration. In some programming languages, you must explicitly state what kind of data a variable will hold, but not in Python. Here you just name your variable and assign it a value. Python automatically figures out what type of data it is. For instance, if you write my underscore variable equals sign 5, Python understands that my underscore variable is an integer. If you later decide that my underscore variable should be a string and write my underscore variable equals sign hello, Python is completely fine with that. This brings us to another cool feature of Python variables, their dynamic nature. A single variable in Python can hold different types of data at different times. You might start with my underscore variable being an integer, then decide it should be a string, and later change it to a list. Python will roll with these changes without any complaints. Let's try another example. If we have my underscore pet equals sign cat, Python will treat my underscore pet as a string. But if we later write my underscore pet equals sign, my underscore pet becomes a list. This flexibility allows you to adjust your variables to suit your needs as your code evolves, making Python a highly adaptable language. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. While Python's flexibility can be a boon, It can also lead to confusion if you're not careful. Always keep track of how you're using your variables to avoid any unexpected surprises. As you can see, managing variables in Python is straightforward and flexible. Python's approach to variables makes it a versatile tool in your coding toolbox, one that can adapt as your needs change. So, keep exploring, keep coding, and you'll soon discover the full potential of Python variables. While Python gives us a lot of flexibility with variables, there are certain rules we need to follow when naming them. First off, a Python variable name must start with a letter or an underscore. This could be any letter, uppercase or lowercase, but it can't be a number or a special symbol. For instance, my variable or underscore my variable are valid names, but one my variable or hash my variable would cause an error. Next up, remember that Python is case sensitive. This means my variable and my variable are two completely different variables. It's a subtle difference, but a vital one. So keep an eye on your capitalization when you're naming your variables. Now, Python variable names can't include special symbols except for the underscore. So names like my dollar variable or my @ variable are a big no-no. Stick with letters, numbers, and underscores. A good practice is to make your variable names descriptive. This isn't a rule, but it makes your code easier to read and understand. So instead of just naming a variable A or B, consider something more descriptive like student underscore name or total underscore score. You also need to be aware of Python's reserved words. These are words that Python has set aside for its own use, like for, while, if, else, and so on. If you try to use these as variable names, you'll run into trouble. So keep a list of these reserved words handy and avoid using them as variable names. And finally, Python variable names can be as long as you like. But again, keeping it simple and descriptive makes your code easier to read and debug. So while this underscore is underscore, my underscore, very underscore, long underscore, variable underscore name is technically a valid variable name, it might be a bit of an overkill. So there you have it, the rules for naming Python variables. Start with a letter or underscore. Remember that Python is case sensitive. Avoid special symbols. Make your variable names descriptive. Avoid reserved words and keep your variable names a reasonable length. By following these simple rules, you can ensure that your Python code runs without any hiccups. So let's recap what we've learned about Python and its variables. We started off by introducing Python, a high-level interpreted programming language that's known for its readability and simplicity. It's a versatile language that's used in a variety of fields, from web development to data science, and even in artificial intelligence. We then moved on to understanding what variables are in general. A variable is a named location used to store data in the memory. It's like a container that holds information which can be manipulated throughout your program. Next, we dove into the world of Python variables. Remember, in Python, variables are created when you assign a value to them. You don't need to declare them explicitly, and they can hold any type of data from numbers and strings to complex data structures like lists and dictionaries. This flexibility and ease of use is one of the reasons Python is so popular among beginners and experts alike. And of course, we discussed the rules for naming Python variables. They must start with a letter or an underscore, and can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. They're also case sensitive, so be careful with your capitalization. But remember, while Python gives you a lot of freedom with variables, it's important to use meaningful names to make your code easier to understand and maintain. This is not just a good practice for Python, but for programming in general. So there you have it, a brief yet comprehensive look at Python and its variables. It might seem a lot to take in at first, but don't worry. The beauty of Python lies in its simplicity and readability. So keep practicing, keep coding, and soon enough, you'll be able to manipulate variables and write Python scripts with ease. Understanding Python and its variables is a significant step in your journey as a programmer. So keep practicing, keep coding, and you'll master Python in no time.